when we lost George, I thought, man, we're never going to do this anymore. Like, how can we possibly continue without him?
I would love to be the guy that goes out, goes to shows, discovers new artists. That is what I want to do with my life. I mean, if I could.
And so, look, we're working on a new one.
I want to talk about you guys' debut album.
That song was written before I was in the band, even. Mark and Reg had written that one. And so, but hair metal, yeah, I hate the term. And he walks out the door and he comes back after a few minutes and he goes, "Holy shit, somebody just shot me." It's called Blue Grape. Blue Grape. I know a hit when I hear it. I do, a hit is a hit because everybody likes it. It's just what it is, right? So who doesn't like that song? It's a great song.
Welcome back to Rock Resurgence Radio. My name is Chad, the host.
And I'm your co-host, Bergy.
Hey, on today's show, we got a very special guest. We got the drummer from the band called Heaven's Edge, Mr. David Rath, with us today, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the good old days and things they got going on now. And I'd like to welcome David right now.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Good to be here. I have a little bit of a cold, so I might have the sniffles a tad, but it's that time of year, I guess.
It
And
is.
yeah, so I'm here in New York City, where I live, even though the band is from Philadelphia. But I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up here, went to college down in Philadelphia, and that's how I met those cats. And we've been joined at the hip in one form or another ever since. Since I guess 1987 was when I first started jamming with those guys. So since then, I worked at when the band was like what I would call on our hiatus, where we took almost like 25 years off. We stopped playing in the very sort of mid 90s, and all kind of went on to our lives. And some guys got married, had kids, got day jobs, that kind of thing. For me, I never really left the business. I stayed on. I became an A&R person for a label called Roadrunner Records. And I worked at Roadrunner for 22 years, and worked with everybody from Slipknot to Nickelback to Gojira to Megadeth, Killswitch Engage, Trivium. Uh, the list goes on. Lenny Kravitz, Skynyrd, Rath, you name it. And about 2 years ago, I started my own label with the original founder of Roadrunner Records. We've been up and running for about 2 years and have about 15 bands so far. We have the band Code Orange, who are a Grammy-nominated metal band, who absolutely set the metal world on fire a few years back with their debut album. We have a band called Gel, who are a hardcore band from New Jersey. We have Spiritual Cramp, a punk band from San Francisco. We have a lot of stuff coming, some more bunch of stuff that we signed, more things on the way. But yeah, that's what I do when I'm not playing drums. I love the music business. I've been in it my whole life. I love discovering new bands. And as an A&R person, I definitely would say that I apply my skills making records with the Heaven's Edge and making our new music. So, Mark and Reggie are the songwriters, but as an A&R person, I kind of get in there and get under the hood and make sure that the records sound modern, but yet we don't alienate our sound that got us where we are.
Very nice.
So,
So you guys are all original members except for your bass player who tragically passed away. Is that correct?
yeah, that is true. By the way, are we on video too? Is this going on?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Okay, because I can nod.
Yeah.
uh, Unfortunately, George passed away. He had lung cancer uh, about it was 2019, so 5 years ago.
Here's.
So it was a shame because George was a dear, dear friend of mine. The band, we were never one of those bands who like got into a fight and broke up or anything like that, or guys did solo projects and there was any strife. We just kind of ran out of runway and we stopped playing because the tastes had changed and we just felt like we were beating our heads against the wall, and it was a tough road to climb, and the opportunities were beginning getting fewer. But so George and myself and Mark and Reggie and Steve, we all remained friends over those years, and we would do things together. We'd hang out socially. Um, So when we did get back together, it felt great. And George was a huge part of that because the guy was a firecracker, you know. I mean, he never really he looked like a teenager, man. He had the body of a teenager, he had the energy of a teenager, and he was as rowdy as they get, and just an absolute great time. So when we lost George, I thought, man, we're never going to do this anymore. Like, how can we possibly continue without him? And at that point, we were like, okay, well, we had a good run. Let's, call it a day. And then Jaron showed up. He had emailed Mark, I guess through some, I don't even know how they met, through some kind of Facebook connection or something. And Jaron was in Philadelphia, and he was like, "Hey, I'd love to play with you guys." And Mark asked us what we thought, and Jaron came down and played with us. And he saved the band, because he's a great guy. He's an incredible player, and he's not George. That's the most important thing. It's like we didn't replace George. We added a new member to the family, and he really gave us a shot in the arm to continue. And now I feel like there's nothing that's going to get in our way.
That's a really, really cool way to look at it, that he didn't replace George. He just added to the family. I like that. That's really awesome. I was gonna say, my dream job, whenever anybody asked me, was I would love to be the guy that goes out, goes to shows, discovers new artists. That is what I want to do with my life. I mean, if I could, but I live in North Dakota. Jesus.
I can't complain. It's a great gig. I mean, I do some of that. That's not all I do, but that is a large part of it. I mean, these days it's less going to bars and clubs and seeing bands. I mean, you have to do that, and I do it almost every night. But most of the stuff that we find are, through social media and
Oh, sure.
recommendations and other bands and all kinds of different things. So
Yep. What's the name of your label?
it's called Blue Grape. Blue Grape.
Blue Grape.
And and it's named after a merchandise company. Roadrunner had a merch company called Blue Grape that was like our sister company years ago. And so when bands couldn't get merch deals when we'd signed up to Roadrunner, we just started a merch company and we just make shirts for them. So um, eventually the owner sold Blue Grape to like Bravado or one of those big merch companies, and they just ate up all the contracts and let the trademark on Blue Grape go away. So I know that a lot of the bands that I was signing were wearing the old original Blue Grape shirts from like Sepultura and Typo Negative, and those shirts are worth hundreds of dollars online on like Craigslist and stuff. So I thought, man, let me have a name that doesn't sound too heavy metal, but yet means a lot. Like if you know, you know.
Right.
And so the Blue Grape, that's where that name comes from, and I'm glad we chose it because it certainly served that purpose better than I could have asked for.
Awesome. So we're going to definitely talk about some what's going on now with Heaven's Edge, and your most recent
Sure.
album was 2023. But I want to talk about you guys' debut album.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
have my question about it is I had heard this or maybe read this on Wikipedia. You were talking about George. You guys formed in '87, and it's my understanding that you guys were ready to record the album, and a shooting took place. Can you
yeah,
can you tell us about that a little bit? That maybe
yeah.
something that we haven't been able to read about it, or maybe something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's there out online or what's not out online, but I could sure tell it. The story. Essentially, um, we were playing a show. We used to play in Philly, some rough neighborhoods. This one place was called the Empire Rock Club, and it was in Northeast Philly. It was like one of the places where uh, headliners, nationals would come in and play. I don't remember what the capacity was, but maybe it was five, 600, something like that. And it was a great room. And so we used to play there a lot. And we had just signed to Columbia Records and we were just announcing that we had signed. So we did a headline show on a Saturday night, and then we were going to play again on Sunday, an all ages show. And we wanted to make sure we were in good shape for the next day. So George was like, I'm leaving early, which is something that guy never did. He was always the last guy out. And he's like, I'm going home and get sleep. So he leaves and he walks out the door and he comes back after a few minutes and he goes, "Holy shit, somebody just shot me." And he like kind of collapsed onto the stage and we couldn't believe it. He was bleeding from his like shoulders to his kneecaps. Somebody shot him with a shotgun. And what happened was apparently there was a guy who was at the venue and he got kicked out by one of the bouncers because he had some sort of behavior. It was disrupting the place. And he went home, we got a gun, and he came back and he was going to basically shoot the bouncer, maybe, participate or begin a mass shooting. It was like one of those things that, you didn't really hear that much. They weren't that frequent back then, but so this guy shows up with a shotgun. He almost blew some girl's head off. He missed her by a few inches. She was sitting next to a cigarette machine, and he blew up the cigarette machine. And then George walked out of the venue, and he shot him. And then I guess when he saw it was George, the crazy thing is the guy was a fan of the band, and he didn't want to he shoot somebody from the band, but he did. And so yeah, so George was injured pretty severely for a long period of time, and as a result, we took some time off. We waited until he was better for us to go make that debut album.
So this was prior to recording anything for the debut album.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this incident delayed that a little bit.
it did. Yeah, it delayed it. Yeah, it delayed it.
Okay.
I mean, we were so close that we were like, George had worked his whole life at that point to get onto an album by a major label, and we were here we were knocking at the door, and we didn't want to deny George the ability to play on this record, and and have this asshole who shot him deny George. So we said, look, we'll just wait till you're ready, and we did. Was it a mistake? uh you know who knew what was going to happen? I mean, it would have been nicer if the album came out sooner, but the inevitable, it was going to happen anyway. What happened to us? So we waited, and at the end of the day, he's on the album, and God bless, because we all listen to it and we know that that's him.
Yeah, the album is awesome, and that's where my question's kind of coming from, or my line of questioning, whatever you want to call it. So the album came out in '90.
Yeah.
Chad and I did an episode with a gentleman named Brian. He has a show on Station Head called Hairband Basement, where he plays nothing but songs that weren't hits on albums. So
Yeah.
if it was a hit, he doesn't play it, like "No Pour Some Sugar on Me," that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I got you. I love that shit. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so we did an episode with him where we each picked 5 songs that we thought should have been major hits or big hits. And one of the songs that I picked was "Find Another Way" from your debut album.
Yeah.
And he had brought up that in 1990 there were bands that came out and had huge debut albums. For example, Slaughter, Up All Night.
Yeah.
Do you think because I feel like there's a lot of great songs on that first album, and actually on your other two too, are
Yeah, thanks.
also. But I can't believe this didn't become a huge
I know.
hit. Do you
Yeah,
think
it's a great song. I
other
mean, I can tell you, it's so funny because that song was written before I was in the band even. Mark and Reg had written that one. And so when I was in school, and I was auditioning for a band that they were going to put together, they sent me a bunch of songs. I heard like 4 songs. I learned the songs, played them, joined the band. And then they were like, okay, here, we just wrote this one, yesterday. And they throw Find Another Way at me. And I was like, oh my God, this is a freaking smash. I mean, and by the way, this is what I do for a living now. So, I know a hit when I hear it. I do, a hit is a hit because everybody likes it. It's just what it is, right? So who doesn't like that song? It's a great song. And yeah, I mean, look, it just the timing, I mean,
Yeah.
the funny thing is that I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but back then there was this formula that, and everything in the late '80s became very formulaic, and that's why it lost its excitement and its edge. And it's a shame that happened, but we were subject to that as well. And so what bands would do is they would put out like a heavy song, one of their heaviest songs first. Then they put out like the big hit, and then they put out the ballad third, and that was your album cycle. And that's what you did. If you were lucky, you got a 4th single. So we started out with Skin to Skin, and that was our first track. But the big money song was Find Another Way. We knew it was coming, and so we had the Columbia Records had pressed up the CD pros. If you guys, I don't know how much radio experience you have, but they would make a specific single that just went to radio called the CD Pro that just had that song on it, and we edited it for radio, and we got it all set, and we started, the label started playing it to radio, and it started to react as we thought it might. And I think it went to like number 1 at BCN in Boston, and KNAC in LA. It was in the top 20, and it was really starting to go. And we felt, okay, it's going to work. So we started shooting the video. We shot half the video in Philly. We went up to Boston to finish the rest of the video. Oh no, we're going to Boston to play a show, and then we're going to go to LA to finish the rest of the video. And while we were in Boston, we got a call from our managers, and they were like, yeah, the label decided, they don't like the song. and they want to know what else you have. And you know, I was a kid, but I knew right then and there. I'm like, what do you mean they don't like the song? Like, of course they like the song. They don't like the band. You know, it's like they don't like this. They don't like everything we're doing. They don't like any of it. They don't like Warrant. They don't like none of it. If they don't like Find Another Way, they don't like it. So I knew at that moment that that was really going to be a long road for us at that point, because all of us had really kind of sort of banked on Find Another Way being the song. We just knew it was the song. And
Oh,
you know, when you're a songwriter and you write like a banger like that, it really inspires you to continue, you know. And so Mark and Reg had written a bunch of other songs too that were really strong. You just felt that they were, as songwriters, really coming into their own. They learned a lot about how to construct a hit song, and once that happens, it like throws you all out of whack, you know. And I think that you can't replicate magic like that. You could just try to come up with different magic, and they kept trying to do it. And while they came up with great songs, like there's no question about it, they're finding other ways, like, you know, the special one. So, which is cool. But yeah, no, it didn't happen because the label, a new president came into the company, a guy named Donnie Einer. And this happens, man. It just happened at Atlantic Records last week. You know, they brought in a new president and they fired half the fucking company, you know. It's just like this age-old story in the music business. I've been subject to it myself. I survived a few of those where they bring in a new president. He's like, well, I want to bring my radio guy in and my lawyer and my this and my A&R staff and all that. And everybody gets flushed down the toilet and along with the bands. So, and that we were a victim of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah, so that's a tragic. It's funny because I was listening to it today. I was telling my wife that we were going to interview you, and she goes, I don't know that I really know Heaven's Edge. And I said, oh, they got some pretty damn good songs on it. I said, you want to listen to it? And we were listening to it, and that song came on, and she goes, wow, this one's great.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thanks.
so,
It's a banger.
yep.
You know,
So
I'll say this, you know, about it all. Just so you know, like the band, aside from losing George, you know, we really feel lucky that we've had the type of career that we've had, because, you know, a lot of those guys who were around back then, you know, only a legit handful really made it to where they're truly like wealthy, successful, don't have to work anymore. And when I say a handful, I'm talking about Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, and maybe, you know, one or two others. Like the rest, all of them, you know, they got to go out there and schlep it, man. And it's a tough life. And I mean, look at the band Kicks. You know, as much as I love those guys, you know, they had to call it quits because they just physically couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So we are able to do what we do. We get to play all the shows that we want to play as much as we want. We enjoy it. We enjoy each other's company. We love playing the songs. But you know, our lives are pretty whole. You know, we have really good lives, all of us. And we didn't, you know, we didn't fall victim to drugs, or you know, our families stayed intact. We have great kids, and you know, we have a good life, man. So it worked. It went the way it was supposed to go, and we still get to make music. And I never sit there and go, oh man, you know, what could have been, right? Like the song on our last record, because I know it could have been. And it's not a pretty story. You know, it doesn't usually go well. You know, we've lost a lot of great talent uh, over the years due to just what I would describe as just disappointment, right? These people get so disappointed, they end up drinking themselves into an early grave, or doing something stupid. And yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, Johnny Lane. I mean, look what happened to that guy. I wouldn't want to trade places with him for all the fame in the world. Sorry.
right,
So we're famous enough. It's fine for me.
yeah.
All of it. But yeah.
Well, speaking of kids, um, anybody in the band, any of their kids follow along in footsteps, kind of get into the music industry or anything like that?
Steve's son, Michael Parry, plays, and he's good. He's got like a roots rock thing going. He actually plays like as a solo act, and he's very talented. He's got an incredible voice, and he's a great naturally gifted player. And I think he's very, very talented. Um, it's funny, my daughter, you know, she grew up around Slipknot and Nickelback, and you know, I mean, she was around all of it. And she would say to me, I want to be in music, and I really tried to discourage her, to be honest with you, because I was sort of like, look, if you should have already made it by now, by the time, if you're not making, like, look, Def Leppard, those guys were 15 when they were successful. It's like, if it doesn't happen early in life, forget it. So, but she works in the film business, and in LA, she's doing quite well, and I'm really proud of her. She's really successful, and she's doing phenomenally well. But and so she's in entertainment, and she loves music, but she doesn't make a living at music. And I don't think any of the kids from ours really do. I don't know why that is, because a lot of they're all talented. Reggie's kids in particular are very talented.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when we were kind of getting this interview together, I didn't know who we were gonna get, if we were gonna get a couple of you guys or whatever.
You
But
got the B list. You got the B. You got
Oh,
the.
no, no,
no.
That's okay. No, I do. I do a good amount of
I am
interviews.
glad you're an original member, which is
Yeah.
a plus.
Mm.
Nothing against Jaron, but I mean, it's cool.
No, it's fine. We love Jared, of course. I get it.
Yeah, no, it's just cool to have somebody who's been there the whole time and
Yeah, I got this.
knows the entire story. Um, do you guys? You said you get to play as many shows as you want and whatever. I mean, are you guys planning anything for, or do you have a big tour? I'm kind of looking at your work.
We don't really tour. It's funny. The gigs just kind of pop up. There's certain things that I can't talk about because they haven't been announced yet.
Right.
Festivals and things like that. But we've been on these fests that you've seen probably. Whether it's one of the cruises or the mountain or the M3 or Firefest. We do stuff like that, and we're always in the mix on those things. So they're always going to pop up. Maybe one a year of those. And then we throw in, like, we try to play a headline show in Philly, once, I would say on the average, once every 18 months. And then we fill in stuff, people hit us up and ask us if we want to do a gig here or there. And, we're pretty particular about it because, we're pretty still theatrical band, and the guy, we work hard at our show and we work hard at looking good, honestly, like staying skinny and still, being able to move around. And, the guys still have the hair. I don't, but they do.
Yeah.
And, they look good. Jaron's up there. The guy's like a freaking Adonis rock star. So, the band looks good. So we don't want to go up and play these little rinky dink places just for money. We want to go up where there's good production, great mix, great big stage, and we can do what we do. And so we kind of hold out for those. For example, we just played at the Whiskey in Hollywood 2 weeks ago, and we headlined. We hadn't played out there in years, and it was a fucking absolutely sick, killer show. We crushed it.
Nice. That's awesome. You guys ever play Rock Timber by any chance?
No. But who knows?
So
Is that a Chicago thing?
No,
That's,
it's in Minnesota, in Hinckley, Minnesota. It's pretty much all kind of 80s, 90s, man.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
it's a big.
What happens? What starts to happen is these fests they start to run out of the bands that they've been playing for years, and then they next, we get the call, when they're like, oh, we got to spice this up. Hey, who else is out there? Oh, this band Heaven's Edge, they play these fests. So sooner or later they'll call us, I'm sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So you're in New York. The rest of the fellas are in Philly still, or in that neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you play a lot of places around Philly.
Yeah, we've always had, like, the Phillies are obviously our home, so we've always done well. But we have other pockets where we do well. Like Boston was always a big town for us. LA was always a big town for us. Baltimore, big. Certain areas of Pennsylvania. New York was never a big market for us, because New York wasn't never really like into like the hair bands, even though and Kiss and the New York Dolls really kind of invented it. But there weren't really a lot of things, a lot of those bands that came out of here, and it wasn't very conducive to breaking bands. New York is very like transient, so we never really established a market here. But I'm sure if we played in North Jersey or Connecticut, outside of New York City, we were going to do a fest 2 years ago, and Mark he got sick, couldn't do it, so we had to cancel. But that we sold some tickets for that. So yeah, we'll one of these days we'll get back to New York. I mean, I love to do it just to play for my friends.
Who were some of the bands that you played with recently, or even back in the past, that you really liked to play with?
Well, one of the bands that we used to play with all the time that they're not as well known, but is this band called Flesh. And they were like our opening band. We would like take them wherever we could. That was Nuno's brother was the singer, and Gary's brother from Extreme
Oh
was the
no.
guitar player.
I swapped
Uh,
a
yeah, and they were fucking great. Very funky, very cool.
Flesh.
Just Flesh, yeah, great dudes, great dudes. I hear they, I mean, I hear they're playing again, but I haven't seen them. But yeah, so we would always play with those guys as much as we could. But honestly, we played with pretty much everybody. I mean, like we played early on with Soundgarden, as crazy as that sounds,
Oh,
and Mother Love Bone. We actually played a gig with Mother Love Bone.
great.
But for us, it's always like the bands that we love playing with Kicks. As a matter of fact, we had Brian from Kicks come up and play with us when we did the Monsters of Rock cruise because we're all huge fans of that band. So they're not playing together anymore. So we're like, dude, we'll be the new Kicks. Just jam with us when you want to get itchy fingers. So we do that. I'd say just we love. There's so many bands we did love playing with. I mean, you name it, it's all those guys. And one of the bands that I just personally loved as people was Warrant because Johnny was like really funny guy and he was really hilarious actually. He was very self-deprecating and he was just like a good dude to hang around. So had a lot of fun with him. Extreme, another band that we just dig playing with. We're somewhat, even though we're way, way more glammy and straight ahead than they are. Maybe because we came out at the same time, we have some same fans, a lot of similar fans. So
And obviously, we're huge fans of you guys and all of those bands
All
that
of
you
those bands,
mentioned.
yeah.
And the thing that you talked about, Soundgarden and Mother Love Bone, like the 1990 lines
yeah,
that we just did an episode on soundtracks, and we were talking about a certain soundtrack where there's a lot of those grunge bands on the soundtrack. I can't remember which
singles,
one it was.
singles.
Yeah, and then, well, it wasn't that one
Oh,
actually. That one didn't come up, but then
No,
there's also some hair metal acts on that. And so, speaking of that, how do you guys feel about that
hey,
term, hair metal?
was it the movie with Keanu Reeves where he jumps out of the plane and because Rat is on that
Point
soundtrack.
Break.
Point Break. That
Point
was
Break.
one of the movies brought up,
It was one
but
that
it
we talked
wasn't that
about.
one. I don't think. I can't remember what the.
It's actually kind of a shitty soundtrack. I mean, I like Nobody Rides for Free, I think is on that. But
Yeah,
the rest, it's like it's really whoever did that soundtrack didn't really get what was going on and really missed what was happening. But hair metal, yeah, I hate the term. We have shirts now that we made that on the front it just says Heaven's Edge on the back it says Philadelphia hair metal with the Liberty Bell, right? It looks like kind of like the Bad News Bears, Chico's bail bonds,
nice.
the
Yeah,
back of his jersey.
right.
And I did that on purpose because it's like, ironic. Now it's a term that I hate, but that now I embrace, it's a sort of derogatory term that after a while you're like, you know what? Yeah, fuck it, man. Hair metal. Like it is what it is. And so we own it, man. We embrace it. Although
So you
it's just a
did hate it, and you're okay with it now.
yeah, 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 yeah. I now we are a hair band, I mean, by the way, we are a fucking hair band. I mean, we look like one, we act like one, we sound like one. If that's what it is, that's what it is, So it's
Yeah,
fine. I didn't like it at first. I always thought we were a hard rock band, but then it's
Right,
right.
right.
And that's it. There just gets to be so many labels, but we say it with love. I mean,
We do. We really do. It's like a
that,
term of
yeah,
endearment.
yeah, it really
yeah.
is. Um,
When I tell people, oh, what kind of band were you? And I'm like, it was a hair metal band, that because it's what it is. It's what it means. It's okay.
yeah, and when you say that term, everybody knows what you're talking about.
And we were. So if there's you look hair metal up in the dictionary and we're certainly right there. So it's okay. I don't again, we sell shirts that say hair metal on it because
Huh.
I think
I got to get me one of those. Are those still
Yeah,
available somewhere?
yeah, we got them. I think they're either on our website or they're somewhere. Get them on the Facebook page. Hit up Reggie. We also have we made a shirt that is like a hair can of hairspray right on the front. It's like a Aquanet and it just said heaven and it's spraying like the Raid commercial, and it has
yeah.
the big cloud of smoke and it just says Heaven's Edge kills grunge dead. And on the
Nice.
can,
Oh,
it says hair metal on the can, because
Right.
it's like fuck it, like at
yeah,
this point, what are we doing? Let's just have some fun with it,
Exactly. That's awesome. I need one of those badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been looking for your stuff. I'm on your webpage right now, and I don't think there's any on
We,
there.
we don't have a web store because we're stupid. I don't know. We just don't do it. Like, no, nobody does it. We could do it. We just don't. I mean, I could probably do it through my own web store, Blue Grape, in some way, piggyback off of it. Maybe one day I will, but I don't really have the ability to do it right now. But but it's a matter of like we get them, we ship them out. I think the shirts are in Steve's garage right now, and he's in charge of mailing them out. So they can be gotten. Just
We'll
have to
find a
look.
couple for
Worth
you.
it.
Find a
You gotta
couple
look.
for sure. Definitely.
Worth the
That's
effort.
awesome. Um, so earlier you mentioned Reggie and Mark were pretty much
Yeah.
the songwriters.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
they are. Yep.
I was kind of curious on who did all the writing. Typically, it's usually one or two guys
Yeah.
that
It's
do
Mark
it.
and Reggie. The last album, we had this fellow named Jacob Bunton, who came on to help with the songwriting, which I felt that we needed just a little like a refresher almost, somebody to be like, hey guys, sometimes you get in your own heads and you kind of get into a pattern. You need an outside person to just kind of help make the little adjustments. I say it all the time to the bands that I'm A&R for. It's like there's a big difference between being on the 20-yard line and being in the end zone. It's only 20 yards, but it's all the difference. And some guys come in and give you that extra 20 yards, and next thing you know, you scored. So um, that's what Jacob does for us. He's incredible.
Nice.
Cool.
Well said.
Well, I have to say your new. I almost like. I don't know which one I like better. I don't. I haven't listened to the second one that much, but the first one and the second and the third one.
Third one. Yeah, the
Bitter
second
Pipe?
one is really just a collection of B-sides and stuff. It's really not like it's not really like a made studio album, it's just extra
Right.
shit. But no, that I consider the new one to be the second one.
Okay.
Really,
Well, I don't know which one's better, man, because they're both killer.
it means a lot to me for you to say that because when we were going to make an album, I was like, look, if we're going to do this, we got to do it. Like we're really going to make
Oh,
something that we can all be proud of. And no, is it going to be on the radio? No, Frontier's not going to put us on the radio, and like I just know how it works. Trust me, it's like it's not getting on the radio. But I want people to hear it and go, damn, I should be on the radio, or it's good enough to be on the radio.
yeah.
Or what it did for us is like, as you mentioned, we're a bit of an obscure hair metal band, right? We're certainly not top tier, probably not even second tier, more like, third or less potentially, right? But uh we just it was fate that kind of put us in this category. I do think we would have done a lot better had things lined up a little more for us. So the band is a good band. I mean, I know good bands when I see them, and so I know we're good. I'm not saying that from an ego standpoint. We're just fucking good. Like people come see us and like, holy shit, you guys are really good. And I'm like, yeah, I know we're good. But when it comes to making records, a lot of the bands who make records now, it's just it's hard to do, man. Like even Paul McCartney, like at a certain point you kind of run dry and you can't. But for us, the beauty of it is like I know the formula, like I know what the shit should sound like because this is what I do. And I the songs like you said earlier, like if I find another way is a good song, everybody likes it, right? So we just wait until we have the songs that everybody likes. And we're like, does everybody like this one? Yeah, everybody likes this one. Everybody who's heard it likes it. This is a keeper, and we just go until we've got the songs, and then we go and record because it's all about the songs. If the songs suck, it sucks. So
Right.
So that came out a little over a year ago. Is that right?
I think it was 2 years ago. And the interesting thing is what I was driving at there was that so when we play in these fests and stuff, I noticed that our audience has like picked up. It's hard to do because you're running out of people, right? I mean, there's definitely a new generation of kids that are coming in, and I see a lot of influencers and stuff at the shows, and it's just a blast to meet these young kids who are into it. I love it. I mean, it's a lot of fun. But I've noticed we've been sort of discovered a little bit by like the people who have been in the business for a while, never really paid attention to us. And a lot of it is because of that new album. And I notice our numbers have come up when we play. Trust me, when you're playing on stage, you could tell if you're buzzing or not. And our audiences have like literally doubled because of that new album.
Oh,
It's
it's kick ass. I mean, I had forgot about you guys. You know, you guys only had the one record. I honestly didn't know there was a second record, and then all of a sudden I heard, oh, whatever you released as a single for this
yeah,
new
yeah.
album, and I went, holy shit, they got new music out. So I listened
Yeah.
to it, and I went, and didn't I tell you about it?
Yeah. And then I think, I mean, you look at it and you're like, wow, okay, Heaven's Edge got an album out in 2023. What else did they put out between 90 and
Yeah.
23? And it's not there except for the
Yeah,
90.
yeah, I would think that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's incredible. I mean, we really just picked it up where we left off.
Right. It's
This would
like
have
you
been
didn't miss a beat.
the second
No,
album. Yeah.
I mean they really do. They both just. We have a saying, and a matter of fact, it's on our little thing. It's pretty much all killer, no filler.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Well, I really means a lot. I do really appreciate that.
man,
There's and so look, we're working on a new one, and
awesome.
it's gonna be great. I know it. I
Thinking,
know.
thinking release next year sometime.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Is
I'd
this
like
going to be on your label this time?
No,
Right?
no, it won't be on. It'll still be on Frontiers. We signed a deal, multi-album deal with them. But it'll probably be end of 2025, maybe early 2026.
Okay.
Because releasing an album for us, first off, we don't have to worry about like getting old or the audience going away. It's they're there, and we're already old. So, but you want to try to time it when like the festival season is heating up because. I think last time we put that album out, we did a release party at the M3 Fest the night before the fest in Baltimore. It was just fucking great, man. And everybody came out, everybody was partying. We did a short set, but we played a bunch of the new songs and we sold a bunch of records and it was like old school, I'm into that stuff. It was cool.
Yeah. So you look out into the crowd and you see a guy half your age singing along to your new songs. That's
Happens.
You love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does happen. Yeah. It
You
does.
look out and you see a guy my age singing along to your older stuff. Like,
Yeah.
is there some songs from the first album that you're like, yeah, we can't play that anymore, or we don't?
No, we do everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they're all good. So
Yeah.
why, and the fans aren't sick of hearing it, or they wouldn't be there.
Well, I was a little curious about Up Against the Wall.
Yeah.
When Winger doesn't sing 17 anymore, that's the subject matter in that song.
Yeah.
You don't
No,
play.
Up Against the Wall isn't a sex song. It's about getting arrested. So we do that. But yeah, I mean, Skin to Skin is probably a little racy for Mark. But the Rolling Stones still play what they play, so we could still play what we play. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it was written at a time when it was appropriate. So appropriate, whatever.
You know what?
Rock and roll, what's really?
I'm not gonna. History is what it is, and while we still have time left on this earth, let's enjoy the time that we lived in, and not let the new people who are sticks in the mud wreck it for us, So
Right, exactly. So is there one song on the new album that you particularly like the most, or?
I mean, definitely, I do like as a song, What Could Have Been. Yeah, I really love that song. It's just such a great song, man. I love it. I also like the last song on the album, I'm Not the One. Out of all the songs on the record, that is probably like my favorite. We never really play it, but it is definitely my favorite, because like Reg, when he wrote it, he was just like, just go nuts, do whatever you feel. And so when we went into the studio, I made a point not to really listen to it that much, like the demo, and I just went in like completely cold and just played whatever I felt at that moment, and that's ended up being like how it went for me drum wise, and it was. So when I listen to it now, I'm like, yeah, that's just straight up purely being inspired, and we didn't do a lot of that in the past. So this album has a lot more of that, where everybody's just kind of a lot more inspired. So I think this album has a much better feel than the first album. First album's a little tight, and it was very particular and exact, and the way it was recorded and mixed and everything. It doesn't have a lot of breathing room, and whereas the new album has has a lot of breathing room on it, I think.
Yeah. And there is, I don't know if well, you're being in the business, but you tend to, sounds like you're tending to deal with particularly more harder edge bands.
I always do, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like that stuff?
Yeah, love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I like everything. I mean, I've signed stuff that's not, I signed the band Vance Joy, with a buddy of mine, and that song Riptide, which if you go listen to it, you'll know. You'll be like, oh yeah, I know that song. It's like a big pop commercial hit. And so I do stuff like that, but it's not my wheelhouse. I do love rock and metal. I mean, I still listen to I still listen to that stuff. I love Van Halen. Like, I absolutely love Van Halen so much.
Yeah.
Uh, I try not to listen to it because I don't want to get sick of it. But no, I love metal. I love metal. I love like Megadeth metal. I love thrash particularly. I happen to love that kind of metal. It's like just gnarly, nasty, cool. I just dig that stuff.
You're like early to mid 80s kind of thrash. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I absolutely love that kind of metal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty good stuff. A
I
lot
love,
of good stuff
I
came
love
out.
Megadeth too. They're one of my favorites
Yeah.
of that type for sure.
I did work on 3 albums with Megadeth over the years. Three I did with them.
Yeah,
Really?
And
which ones?
I know Dave pretty well.
Which
What's
ones did
that?
you do?
Endgame. Um, what is the other one? 13.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other one was
United.
United Abominations.
Cool.
Yeah. And I got to know Dave really well, and he's everything that you heard.
Interesting for sure. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's everything you heard, but
Oh, he is.
he
Yeah.
is though. That's
Yeah.
great.
Great.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you wish we would have asked or thought we would ask that we didn't?
I wish for a Yankees win if I could get that.
Are we
Yeah.
keeping you from? Was the game first pitch
My
already?
phone, the texts are coming in. I'm not looking at them. Something's going on. Either the Yankees are blowing it or something.
Oh,
I'm not trying
Well,
to get distracted.
we'll
No,
hope-
I mean, I appreciate doing this. Thank you guys for having us. Anytime that we can, speak with people and have a chance for more people to understand where we come from and what we do.
Awesome.
It's good. We don't take it for granted. I think all of us really do appreciate when people come to see us. It really, really means a lot. When your gig is to make people happy, it's a great job. It's a great thing. There's a lot of people whose jobs make people unhappy, and ours is to make people happy. So it's the best job you could ever ask for.
It is really cool. And, coming out after COVID, that's got, I think I was reading this on your webpage where you said people just wanted to get back together and
Yeah.
have a good time. And I think that's totally true. And
It was great for my kind of music. It was great I specialize also in hardcore music. I'm not a hardcore person, but I've signed some big hardcore bands, and that music is very physical. The kids get out and they're jumping all over each other, and there's a lot of that. And after COVID, man, that's what people wanted to do. They wanted that physical contact, that they wanted to be touched by the music, and
Right.
it's great what we do. And yeah, COVID was just the worst thing of all time. Like, it just was horrible, and it took away the human. People, I don't think people will ever really realize how bad it was, to keep people away from each other.
right.
Pray to God something like that never happens again. But it damaged a lot of good bands. Got damaged by it. Never came back. Records that came out, first debut record, second albums. They couldn't tour, and some bands like never recovered from it. It really fucked some people up in a bad way.
Well, that sucks. Yeah.
Aside from the obvious,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to belittle what happened to people who were sick and died and lost family members, because that's obviously real and horrible. But I'm just talking about like the global,
Yeah.
this.
Totally agree. Well, David, I really, really appreciate you coming on, and maybe we'll hit you up down the road when your new album comes out, and we'll speak again because this was a lot of fun.
Great. Now you guys are in Chicago?
We're in
No.
North Dakota, Minot, North Dakota,
Oh,
We're in
Holy
the middle
crap.
of nowhere.
middle of nowhere. It's going to be like -30 here in about 2 months.
Yeah.
yeah. Jeez. I always tell bands, like, all the time when I'm signing bands, I'm like, if you're going to be in a 15-passenger van in North Dakota in February, That's what separates the men from the boys. If you could do that, you got I'll sign it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
But
well, good, man. Well, you guys do that.
the good thing is if they got stranded on the road, somebody will help them.
That's absolutely true.
Probably 5 cars will stop and help them.
Well, hopefully, if they can, yeah, if they just don't, yeah. I just always think of the honeymooners. Bismarck, North Dakota.
Yeah, right. We're close to that.
Pop was going to get married in Bismarck.
When are you guys playing in Bismarck so we can go see you?
Oh, I will. Go see the Raccoon Cemetery with the Raccoon with Ralph Crandon and the Raccoon Lodge. Yeah, free burial in Bismarck, North Dakota. Anyway, well, great, guys. Pleasure chatting with you. And, let me know when this is broadcasting and I'll send it around to all my friends.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
I'll send it to, I think it was Jaron that I was.
Aaron, yeah. He's a social media guy in the band.
Yeah, in Messenger, I'll let him know when it's going to come out. It'll be probably a couple weeks.
Yeah, Halloween, we have our episode we were talking about with the soundtrack. So if you want to check that out and see what we were talking about.
Oh, great. I will.
Yeah.
I did on Freddy versus Jason. Did that make your list? Freddy versus Jason? Probably not.
No.
Didn't make the list.
Things that made our list. Things like Spinal Tap and some of the Bill and Ted stuff and the Wrestler.
Trick or Treat
movie. Soundtrack, Fastway.
Yeah. I did Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie. That song Hero. Yeah. I worked on that, put that whole thing together.
Okay.
So that was good. All right, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
See you later. Thank you very much for being on.
100%. See you later.
Yep. Bye.
Well,
that was cool.
That was very cool. David was a very interesting guest to have on.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I had some questions for Reggie, the guitar player, because I play guitar.
Absolutely.
Which I wish I could have got to, but he was a great interview. Really nice guy.
Yep.
And if you guys don't know the band Heaven's Edge, hey, go out, check out their music on Apple Music or wherever you get your music and check them out. They got 2 fantastic CDs.
Yeah. Get It Right's their newest one from 2023. Is that what it's called, right? Get It Right?
Get It Right, yep.
And then their their debut album is just self-titled.
Self-titled, yep.
But man, should have been a hit.
Oh, it should have been huge. Yeah, they're kind of, to me, what do you think, in the vein of like I was listening to the first album again today, and it, like, the backing vocals are very strong and very perfect, like Def Leppard, but they're in that kind of wheelhouse, like the Hysteria type of Def Leppard.
Yeah, if you like melodic metal,
or a Danger or something like that.
Danger is a good one to bring up for sure.
If you like that type, they're excellent. They're really good, and you heard it from him. They're coming out with another album, maybe end of 25, early 26, and I'm looking forward to it because this is one of those bands that I heard their album way back in the day and didn't listen to it much. I liked it, but it just didn't catch on with the group or whatever. So I kind of went away from it. And then I heard that song, and then I told you that you said, they have a new album, and then got me wheeling and whatever. And I hit them up on Facebook, and they agreed to have an interview with us. So that was really cool. And so I've been checking out their music a little more as of late, and man, it is damn good. I think you all should check it out.
Hopefully they'll be coming to a festival near you. It sounds like that's the kind of the gigs that they're playing now. Like he said, they play just wherever they want.
Whenever they want.
Yep.
Yep. It's that's the freedom that they have, which is nice. They all have good lives. They're living good lives, and then they do this band. And I like the way he said, we wait until we get 10 songs that everybody likes, and then we put it on an album.
Yeah.
It's a good way to do it. You're not just putting out fillers.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it for our podcast episode for today. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. If you're listening to this on like Apple or Spotify, you're not getting the full shebang. Well, on this episode you are, because we're not playing any music. But most of our episodes, we play some music, and you get to see our lovely faces. If you want that, go check us out on YouTube. It's just Rock Resurgence Radio. With that, we're pretty much done. You got anything?
I've got to echo what you're saying. Please like our channel, subscribe, check out some of our past videos. I think you'll
Yeah,
enjoy it.
We got probably 30 or so, 30
Yeah.
episodes out there or so.
And again, I thank David for coming on. David
Yep.
Rath, drummer for Heaven's Edge, original member. Was very interesting to hear the stories.
It was very, very interesting. And I thank Heaven's Edge very much for allowing him to come out and talk with us for a little bit.
Yeah, and we're recording this on the night of Game 3 of the World Series. So when you watch this, that's going to be all said and done. David's a huge Yankees fan, and they're
Yep.
down 2-0 at this point.
I
So
know they are. I'm
it's
not a
killing
big
him.
baseball fan. My mother-in-law is a big Yankees fan too, so I know all about it, that they're down and it's not going well.
The fact that he came on to our show on a night when his
Right.
beloved Yankees haven't been in the World Series since, I think this is crazy, but 2009.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It's a big deal for him to be watching it.
Yeah. And
Said he was getting texts and he wasn't looking at them because
Yeah.
he's like me when I can't watch my team play and I don't want nobody to talk to me. I want to just watch it from the beginning.
Yep. So that was cool that he did that while
Yeah,
that was
that's
on.
a huge deal.
That's huge. He must like us.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's it for the show. Like, subscribe. Please, please, please. And until the next time.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope you enjoyed our content. If you did, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. We'd greatly appreciate it. Links to everything we discussed will be included in episode notes. Feel free to check those out as well. Until next time, stay golden, Pony Boy, and rock on.